What's happening, guys? This is House Cat MMA, and right now I'm kind of going to be riffing about the mixed martial arts fight that's going to take place between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. But before I get into all that, if you would just take a second to like and subscribe, maybe do a little bit of commenting and sharing, that'd be tight as hell. So, when I first heard that this fight was gonna take place, I was like overwhelmingly like, Khamzat, as bad as I hate it, Khamzat Chimichanga is gonna fuck Sean Strickland up. And I had a fellow in the comments telling me, well, yeah, but everybody thought that Adesanya was going to fuck Strickland up, but Strickland wound up fucking him up. And, I mean, yeah, but I was one of the few people that called Strickland to win that fight, because even then, I knew that Strickland was the best striker in the middleweight division, barring Alex Bahia back when he was at 185. And I was kind of like, Khamzat's past two fights with Robert Whittaker and Dricus du Plessis, how bad he fucked the pair of them up. I was like, he's probably gonna do the same to Sean Strick. But you gotta think, every dominant champion that has numerous title defenses. Not that, obviously, Khamzat's got no title defenses, but he's been largely dominant in his career. You always wind up having fights where you're not as dominant as you normally would be. And, Khamzat's already had a taste of that when he fought Gilbert Burns back in, 2022. And, I was also thinking that, Strickland, he hasn't been out-wrestled really since he fought Kamaru Usman back in 2017 or 2018. And, Strickland is one of the best at frolicking around the octagon and not taking any damage. So it's possible that he can just, get to frolicking and kind of thwart Khamzat's takedowns and maybe win a decision of sorts. Because Strickland has exciting fights, but he also has fights that are kind of boring. He's not afraid to have a boring fight as long as it ensures that he wins it. And Strickland was Strickland's been hilarious at the presser so far. He just keeps on calling Khamzat a goat fucker, basically saying that he's kind of the voice, or he's speaking for the farm animals that don't have a voice, calling Khamzat a whore, called Khamzat a cunt, called Khamzat a dog, but then he went back on it and he's like, what's slower than a dog? And the reporter's like, I don't know. He's like, a rat. So he's saying that Khamzat's lower than a dog, which is a rat, and basically saying that he's a country fleer. Talking about, he went from Chechnya to Sweden, then he went from Sweden to somewhere else, and then back to Chechnya, and started sucking off a dictator and shit like that. And the thing is, I think they're kind of, I know that Khamzat doesn't really like Strickland, but I think the media is kind of portraying it that there's more bad blood than there actually is. I mean, there is, but it's not that they're making it like it's horrible, but I think they're kind of just, Sean's gonna stir shit up regardless. And, you know, he's gonna hype the fight, and Khamzat, you know, he'll meet Sean there too. Like, he'll also hype the fight. And, you know, Sean, you know, because so, like, here lately, I guess the past couple of days or whatever, Khamzat's been rolling 30 deep. He's got 30 other motherfuckers with him. And a reporter asked Sean, he's like, you know, what happens if, you know, shit goes left and you got Khamzat and his, well, because, like, Khamzat's not going to do shit. He's going to have his crew do it. He's like, what happens if his crew comes at you and shit goes left? He's like, I'm going to shoot every last one of them. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's basically what he said. And, you know, Chael was kind of talking about that, basically saying, you know, usually there would be, I'm paraphrasing, but usually saying that usually there would be a playful element to that. But the issue with Sean Strickland is he'll do it. You know, he has a lack of regard for shit that he should have regard for. Sean will pop a cap in every single one of those motherfuckers. He keeps that thing on him at all times. And, you know, I was kind of right when I was talking like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, talking about, you know, this is going to be about like Khabib versus Conor as far as, you know, the build-up goes. And I think I said it's going to be almost that crazy, but not quite that crazy. You know, it's pretty spot on with that. But, you know, I think they're kind of, you know, making the UFC's making a conscious effort to keep Sean away from Khamzat and Khamzat away from Sean, because they know, you know, Sean's crazier than McGregor. Everybody knows that. And McGregor didn't keep a fucking gun on him. Sean does. So, you know, they're pretty smart to do that, because I know for a fact Sean will not hesitate to open fire on a pack of Chechens. But yeah, that's pretty much I have on that. Pretty much all I have on that. You know what I'm saying? I'm very much looking forward to this fight. Like, I kind of give a fuck about Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. But the fact that it's the co-main of Sean Strickland versus Khamzat, the goat fucker Chimichanga, like, that kind of, you know, you almost feel for Joshua Van having his first title defense overshadowed by Sean Strickland versus Khamzat, the goat fucker Chimichanga.